For many, alcohol is woven seamlessly into the fabric of daily life. An after-work glass of wine, a celebratory toast, or a quiet drink with friends. It's social, it's relaxing, and in moderation, it's often considered harmless. But what if this familiar ritual is quietly undermining your health? Especially if you're living with joint pain or arthritis. Picture this. You wake up the morning after a dinner party, and your joints feel unusually stiff. Maybe your fingers are swollen, your knees ache, or your ankles feel sore. You blame it on getting older, on the weather, or perhaps on too much dancing the night before. Rarely do we stop to consider that the culprit could be sitting in last night's wine glass. Recent insights from natural health experts, like Barbara O'Neill, are bringing new awareness to the subtle but profound ways alcohol impacts our bodies, far beyond the familiar headaches or dehydration. O'Neill, renowned for her straightforward approach to wellness, challenges us to reconsider the normalcy of alcohol, especially when it comes to inflammation and chronic joint disease. It turns out, the connection between alcohol and inflammation isn't just a matter of hangovers or liver health. The science shows that even moderate drinking can trigger a complex cascade of reactions inside your body. Dehydration is only the beginning. Alcohol also stirs up immune messengers, known as cytokines, which can fuel joint pain and swelling. For people with arthritis or a tendency toward flare-ups, this means that what seems like a harmless indulgence might be setting the stage for days of discomfort. And the story doesn't end there. Alcohol has a hidden knack for making things worse. It slows your body's recovery, stresses your liver, and can quietly sabotage your best efforts at healing. The more we look, the clearer it becomes. Alcohol's impact on inflammation is anything but minor. So, before you pour your next drink, consider this: is that glass of wine or beer really as innocent as it seems? Or could it be playing a silent role in your ongoing joint pain? In the sections that follow, we'll peel back the layers on alcohol's effects, guided by Barbara O'Neill's insights, and reveal why what you drink might matter more than you ever realized, especially for your joints. Why alcohol is a hidden inflammatory agent. If you've ever felt your joints ache more the day after a celebration, or even just a casual glass of wine, you're not imagining it. Alcohol might seem harmless in moderation, but inside your body, it tells a very different story, especially when it comes to inflammation and arthritis. Barbara O'Neill, a prominent natural health educator, often highlights how certain everyday choices can quietly disrupt the body's balance. One of those choices, she says, is alcohol. According to her, it's not just a lifestyle indulgence. It's a hidden trigger that directly inflames joints and worsens chronic conditions like arthritis. Here's what's happening under the surface. When you drink alcohol, it begins to dehydrate your entire system. This includes the synovial fluid, the slippery substance inside your joints that acts like motor oil for your bones. With less fluid, your joints lose their smooth movement and cushioning, making even normal activity feel stiff or painful. It's like running an engine without enough oil it grinds. But dehydration isn't the only issue. Alcohol also sparks inflammation by triggering the release of certain immune system messengers called cytokines. While cytokines are part of the body's natural defense system, in excess, they create the perfect storm for pain and swelling. This is especially concerning for people with autoimmune arthritis, like rheumatoid arthritis, where the immune system is already attacking the joints. In fact, Studies have shown that alcohol can elevate levels of C-reactive protein CRP, a key marker of inflammation in the body. The higher your CRP, the more likely you are to experience flare-ups and for longer durations. And here's something most people miss. Alcohol doesn't just trigger inflammation once. It also weakens your body's ability to recover from it. Your liver, which plays a central role in processing inflammatory byproducts, gets bogged down dealing with alcohol instead of healing your joints. So while you may feel fine during the drink, the damage is quietly compounding overnight. Barbara's point is simple but profound if you're dealing with arthritis, and especially if you're older. Your body is already working harder to stay balanced. Adding alcohol to the mix is like throwing fuel on the fire. It may not seem like a big deal, but for many, that one drink could be what turns a good day into a painful one. And this is just the start. Because alcohol doesn't only affect inflammation, it also messes with another major factor in arthritis flare-ups: uric acid levels. Alcohol and gout, a painful combination. There's a specific form of arthritis that's infamous for its sudden, intense pain. So sharp that even a bedsheet brushing against your toe can feel unbearable. It's called gout. And if you've ever experienced a gout attack, you already know how excruciating it can be. What many don't realize is how closely alcohol is tied to these painful episodes. Barbara O'Neill has often pointed to gout as one of the clearest examples of how alcohol can directly harm your joints. Unlike some types of arthritis that build up slowly over time, gout comes on fast, and often right after a trigger like a big meal or a night of drinking, especially drinking beer. Here's why. Gout is caused by a buildup of uric acid in the blood. Normally, your body dissolves and excretes uric acid through the kidneys. But when there's too much of it, or if your kidneys can't keep up, it forms sharp crystals that settle in your joints, especially your toes, ankles, and knees. These crystals are like microscopic needles, and when they collect, they create inflammation, swelling, and often unbearable pain. Now, alcohol, particularly beer, is packed with purines, which are natural substances that break down into uric acid. So, drinking beer is like pouring more fuel into an already smoldering fire. Even spirits and wine can slow down your body's ability to clear out uric acid, meaning the levels stay higher for longer. The result: a sudden flare-up that can last for days. One study published in The Lancet found that just 1 to 2 alcoholic drinks in a 24-hour period increased the risk of a gout attack by more than 30%. With 2 to 4 drinks, the risk shot up by over 50%. For someone who already has high uric acid levels or a history of gout, that one celebratory toast might come at a painful price. And it's not just about the short-term pain. Repeated gout attacks damage joints over time, increasing the risk of permanent deformity and chronic arthritis. That's why Barbara O'Neill urges people not to ignore the connection. She's seen firsthand how many of her clients began to reclaim their mobility and their lives just by removing alcohol from their routine. The truth is, gout doesn't come out of nowhere. The body always gives warnings, and in many cases, alcohol is the hidden trigger. Easy to overlook, but deeply impactful. In the next section, we'll uncover another dangerous layer: how alcohol doesn't just flare up the joints, it also interacts dangerously with the very medications meant to protect them. Medication risks. Alcohol's dangerous interactions. If you're managing arthritis, chances are you're also managing a list of medications, pain relievers, Anti-inflammatories, immune regulators. They're essential tools for many people living with chronic joint pain. But here's what Barbara O'Neill wants you to know when you add alcohol to the mix. Those medications can go from helpful to harmful. One of the most common drug classes for arthritis is NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen or naproxen. These are often used to manage everyday joint pain and stiffness. However, combining NSAIDs with alcohol increases the risk of stomach ulcers and internal bleeding. The alcohol weakens your stomach lining, while NSAIDs reduce the stomach's protective mucus. Together, they create the perfect storm for gastrointestinal damage. You might not feel it right away, but over time, it can lead to serious complications. Then there's methotrexate, a cornerstone medication for rheumatoid arthritis and other autoimmune conditions. It works by suppressing the immune system, keeping it from attacking the joints. But methotrexate is also metabolized through the liver. So is alcohol. When you combine the two, you double the stress on your liver, raising the risk of toxicity, damage, and even long-term liver disease. This isn't just theory. Liver enzyme levels in arthritis patients who drink regularly are often significantly higher, an early warning sign that damage is happening behind the scenes. That's why doctors often advise complete alcohol avoidance for anyone taking methotrexate or similar drugs. Corticosteroids like prednisone add another layer of complexity. These medications already increase your risk for high blood pressure, bone thinning, and blood sugar imbalances. Add alcohol into the mix, and those risks can multiply. You might experience worsened blood sugar swings, more brittle bones, or even mood changes that affect your overall well-being. Barbara O'Neill is especially passionate about this topic because she believes many patients are never fully warned about these interactions. She's spoken about people who followed their doctor's orders with medication, but kept drinking occasionally, only to find their symptoms getting worse, not better. In many cases, it wasn't the meds failing. It was the alcohol interfering silently. It's easy to forget that alcohol is, in itself, a chemical compound that alters how your body works. When you're on arthritis medication, your body is already in a delicate balance. A single drink can be enough to tip that balance, and the consequences might not show up until it's too late. So if you're someone managing arthritis with medication, this is the moment to reflect. What's more important, a glass of wine, or your liver health? A cocktail, or your ability to walk without pain? Coming up next, we'll look beyond the drinks we think are worst, like beer, and explore how even wine and moderate drinking can quietly sabotage your health. It's not just beer. All forms of alcohol count. When people hear that alcohol can trigger arthritis flare-ups, the usual reaction is to point the finger at beer. And it's true. Beer is particularly high in purines, the compounds that break down into uric acid and contribute to gout. But here's the part most people miss: wine, cocktails, and spirits can also cause serious problems for your joints, even in small amounts. Barbara O'Neill often emphasizes that when it comes to inflammation, no alcoholic beverage is truly safe. The idea that red wine is heart-healthy, or that a nightly drink can help you relax, might be popular. But those beliefs can be dangerously misleading for someone with arthritis. While red wine does contain antioxidants like resveratrol, the alcohol itself still acts as a pro-inflammatory agent. And for people with joint problems, that can make all the difference between comfort and pain. Let's break it down. Regardless of the type, All alcohol affects your immune system. It disrupts gut health, weakens your body's ability to regulate inflammation, and reduces your sleep quality. That last point is critical. Poor sleep can worsen arthritis symptoms by increasing stress hormones and reducing recovery time for damaged tissues. So, even a glass of wine before bed could silently sabotage your body's healing process. Spirits like vodka, rum, and whiskey don't escape scrutiny either. While they may not be as high in purines as beer, they still place a heavy load on the liver and kidneys, two organs essential for flushing out toxins and managing inflammation. If your liver is working overtime to process alcohol, it can't prioritize clearing out inflammatory waste products. Over time, that can contribute to longer flare-ups, increased joint stiffness, and a general feeling of sluggishness. And for those who think moderation is the answer, Barbara O'Neill challenges that notion, too. She's spoken about how even just one drink can be enough to tip the balance in someone who is already sensitive or struggling with arthritis. Because what's moderate for one person might be inflammatory overload for another. Genetics, age, weight, liver health, and medication use all influence how your body responds. There's also a psychological trap here. People often use alcohol to relax or socialize, which can make it harder to cut back. But Barbara encourages her listeners to rethink the story they tell themselves. Is the pleasure of a drink really worth the pain that follows? Are you willing to trade joint health for a habit that, in truth, offers no nutritional benefit? The goal isn't to shame, but to wake us up. Because when it comes to protecting your joints, knowledge is power. And the idea that only beer is harmful, that's a myth that needs to be retired. In the next section, we'll look at the positive side, what you can drink instead. There are delicious, soothing alternatives that hydrate, heal, and help your joints recover naturally. What to drink instead. Soothing the joints naturally. It's one thing to say, don't drink alcohol. But it's another thing entirely to ask, what should I drink instead? If you're used to a glass of wine at dinner or a cocktail with friends, quitting alcohol can feel like giving something up. But here's the empowering truth that Barbara O'Neill shares. When you let go of what's hurting your body, you open the door to drinks that actually heal it. Start with the most powerful and underrated drink of all, water. Proper hydration keeps your joints cushioned, helps flush out uric acid, and reduces stiffness, especially first thing in the morning. People with arthritis often report dramatic improvements in mobility and pain simply by increasing their water intake. Aim for small, steady sips throughout the day, and add a pinch of sea salt or lemon for natural electrolytes if needed. Next, consider herbal teas, nature's pharmacy in a cup. Ginger tea is a top choice. It contains compounds like gingerol that reduce inflammation and pain, much like NSAIDs, but without the side effects. Many people with arthritis say they feel the difference within a few days of adding ginger to their routine. Turmeric tea is another superstar. Turmeric contains curcumin, a natural anti-inflammatory that's been studied for its ability to reduce joint pain and swelling. Just a teaspoon of turmeric in warm water, with a pinch of black pepper to boost absorption, can become a daily ritual for healing. Celery juice is gaining attention in the natural health world, and for good reason. It's rich in antioxidants and contains compounds that help balance fluid levels in the body. Some even report fewer flare-ups and better digestion after incorporating celery juice regularly. You might also try tart cherry juice, which has been shown in studies to lower uric acid levels and reduce the frequency of gout attacks. Just make sure it's unsweetened and not mixed with added sugars, which can worsen inflammation. And for those social occasions when you'd rather not stand out, there's a growing world of non-alcoholic options that feel festive without the joint damage. Sparkling water with fresh herbs like mint or basil, a squeeze of lime, and even a few slices of ginger can make a refreshing mocktail. You get the experience without the inflammation. Barbara O'Neill often reminds her listeners that the body responds beautifully to care. When you give it what it needs, in this case, hydration, antioxidants, and anti-inflammatory nutrients, it responds with less pain, more movement, and better energy. So rather than seeing it as a restriction, see it as a reset, a return to what your body has been quietly asking for all along. And the best part, you might be surprised by how quickly you notice the difference. Many people who give up alcohol for just a few weeks report waking up with clearer joints, fewer flare-ups, and a renewed sense of vitality. In our final section, we'll bring it all together. The one drink to avoid, the body's message in every flare-up, and the empowering choices that lie ahead. Arthritis doesn't whisper. It speaks loudly through swelling, stiffness, and pain. But your body has always been trying to tell you something. And sometimes, what it's trying to say is this: that one drink isn't harmless. Barbara O'Neill's warning isn't about guilt or deprivation. It's about awareness, about giving people the knowledge they need to live with less pain and more freedom. And what she makes crystal clear is this: alcohol, even in small amounts, can quietly worsen joint pain, trigger flare-ups, and interfere with the very medications meant to bring relief. We've seen how alcohol dehydrates your joints, spikes inflammation, and slows your body's natural recovery. We've uncovered how it fuels gout attacks, clashes with arthritis medications, and disrupts sleep and healing. And we've explored how the problem isn't limited to beer. All alcohol carries these risks, but the real power comes in knowing what to do about it. Because once you understand the role alcohol plays, you can make a different choice. You can reach for drinks that hydrate, soothe, and heal, like water, herbal teas, turmeric, ginger, or tart cherry juice. You can replace an old habit with a new one that supports your health rather than quietly sabotaging it. And, most of all, you can begin to listen to your body's signals. That next morning ache, the random swelling, the stiffness that won't go away. It might not be random. It might be a sign. So today, ask yourself, is that drink really worth it? Is it helping you move through life with ease or silently holding you back? Maybe you already know the answer. Maybe this is the moment to try something different. Not forever, but for a while. Just long enough to see how your joints feel without that hidden trigger. You don't have to make the change alone. Share this video with someone who might be struggling with arthritis. Talk to your doctor about safe alternatives. Start a conversation in your own family. Because sometimes, the biggest health transformations start with the smallest choices, like what you pour into your glass. Thank you for watching. Stay well, stay curious, and keep listening to your body.